My name is, my name is, my name is Charlie Ray. I'm a trans male and I prefer the pronouns Charlie, Charlie's, and himself. Hi, everybody. Okay, so today is March the 25th, 2020. And this is Extra. Read all about it. Your source of transgender news here in the US and abroad. The articles I share with you today, I share out of actual articles in LGBTQIA online magazines and videos, but the editorial opinions are strictly my own. Remember, opinions are like a wee holes, and everyone's got them. Hi, everybody. Today, the pieces of transgender news that are coming to you from the Pink News Transgender Section. And I will be posting links below. Our top story comes today from right here in the good old US of A, in an article written by Lily Wakefield and posted on March the 25th, 2020. The Trump administration is at it again, and its multi-pronged attack on our transgender youth. This transphobic administration is systematically attacking and attempting to strip their legal rights and the rights of all transgender people everywhere. In particular, this attack is upon trans women youth, demanding that they identify and play as bio males in order for them to be able to play in sports. Give me just a second and I will begin to read you the article. Again, this is from Transgender News. The Trump administration officially declares it believes trans girls should be treated as biological males. The Trump administration has officially declared that it believes trans girls should be treated as biological males when playing sports at school. The U.S. Justice Department is supporting a lawsuit which aims to block trans girls at schools in Connecticut from competing as girls in interscholastic sports competitions. 3 high school students in Connecticut filed a federal discrimination complaint in June of 2019, challenging the Connecticut Interscholastic Athletic Conference policy of letting trans students compete in sports teams according to their gender identity. The complaint, which argues that trans athletes should not be allowed to compete in the category corresponding to their gender identity because it's unfair for cisgender girls, was filed on behalf of the 3 students by the Religious and Anti-Trans Alliance Defending Freedom, which has also filed more than 40 cases against Planned Parenthood. However, the CIAC argues that its policy is in line with Title IX, which ensures equal educational opportunities for girls, including preventing discrimination based on gender in school sports. The organization previously said that the CIAC is committed to providing transgender students, athletes, with equal opportunities to participate in the CIAC athletic programs consistent with their gender identity. The CIAC has concluded that it would be fundamentally unjust and contrary to applicable state and federal laws to preclude a student from participating on a gender-specific sports team that is consistent with the public gender identity of that student for all other purposes. On Tuesday, March 24th, the Trump administration officially got involved in this case. Attorney General William Barr filed a statement in interest arguing against the CIAC policy. According to ABC, in its filings, the U.S. Justice Department wrote, under the CIAC's interpretation of the Title IX, however, schools may not account for the real physiological differences between a man and a woman. Instead, schools must have certain biological males, namely those who publicly identify as female, to compete against biological females. In doing so, the CIAC deprives those girls of the single-sex athletic competitions that are one of the marquee accomplishments of the Title IX. Christiana Holcomb, the attorney representing these three girls who filed the complaint, said males will always have inherent physical advantages over comparably talented and trained girls, and that the reason we have girls, which is the reason we have girls' sports in the first place. And a male belief about his gender doesn't eliminate those advantages. The ACLU has previously spoken out against this lawsuit, calling it a dangerous distortion of both the law and science in the service of excluding trans youth from public life. The Attorney General, William Barr, Connecticut Interscholastic Athletic Conference, Donald Trump, and the lawsuit Sports and Trans Girls Trump Administration. Okay, so if this ruling stays in place, this would mean that our youth will likely have to decide between being able to play in school sports and living with the horror of dysmorphia. During this present climate of transphobia against our youth, I implore my fellow trans adults and all of the allies to rise up as a single voice and say we will not stand by while the trans youth of this nation are attacked and stripped of their rights. This is our next generation, folks, of trans people. And many of us still remember a time when many of our friends died by way of suicide due to the horrors they experienced as trans youth. We all suffered from these horrors. Gatekeepers told us who we were, what we could do, and how we should express ourselves. Please stand with us. Please. And speak for our youth. They need a voice, and they cannot do it in our government. We ask you to rise up. We ask you to call our senators, representatives, the judges of the Supreme Court, even the presidential cabinet and the president himself. We need to tell them this is not okay. And we will not back down. We need to tell them to stop their multi-pronged attack on our trans youth, the protection legislation, and to stop introducing legislation that will harm our trans youth. Now, moving across the pond, let's go to England. In English Transgender News, we have an article by Nick Duffy posted on March the 25th, 2020 in Peak News in their Transgender section. In that Transgender section, we will find, hold on a second. Okay, give me just a second. I'm going over as we speak to the Transgender News over in the UK. Okay. We have unelected Tory peer who demands that the government explain what a woman is, because apparently there's nothing more important going on. An unelected male Tory aristocrat. In case you're wondering what that is here in the U.S., this is a person who, because of the title that he was given, perhaps sometimes many generations in the past, is allowed to sit on the House of Lords. An unelected male Tory aristocrat was born into a life of privilege and power. Lord Lucas is apparently the new savior of the gender critical movement in Parliament. Government departments are having to take time out from the mammoth job of responding to the, I will say the C, because we will have trouble with that, pandemic, to respond to a flood of written parliamentary questions from Lord Lucas, an unelected, Eton-educated member of the House of Lords, who is only entitled to sit in Parliament because the titles were awarded to his family 12 generations ago. Lord Lucas files 21 separate questions on transgender issues. Over the past month, Lucas has barraged government departments, including the Department of Education, the Ministry of Justice, the Home Office, the Department of Health and Social Care, Cabinet Office, and Government Equality's Office, with a stream of hostile questions about their policies on transgender issues. The departments respond to all written questions from MPs and peers, while Parliament is sitting with government ministers submitting public responses in the past week, patiently explaining the fundamental basics of equality laws, and all of which have been in force for at least a decade without any controversy. The issue appears to be the primary preoccupation of the peer, who over the same time period has submitted just 2 questions on unrelated matters. Unelected peer demands someone explain to him what a woman is. In one of his questions, Lord Lucas, who holds the hereditary titles of 12th Baron Lucas and 8th Lord Dingwall, demanded the government explain what a woman is. He wrote, to ask Her Majesty's government, what is their definition of 1, a man, 2, a woman, 3, a male, 4, a female, 5, a boy, 6, a girl, 7, a transgender, 8, sex, 9, gender, and 10, gender identity. Equalities Minister Baroness Burridge explains that man is defined as a male of any age and a woman as a female of any age, before linking to a pre-existing government document explaining basic terminology of transgender people to the peer. Then Lord Lucas asked under which circumstances a service provider may require a person to provide a gender recognition certificate as a condition for providing said services. The same minister was forced to explain the fundamental concept of gender recognition certificates, which are not a form of ID, but a private, legal document, which a person would not usually be required to produce as a condition for accessing services, in the same way that a person would not usually be asked to produce a birth certificate. Meanwhile, Home Office Minister Baroness Williams of Trafford had to patiently explain to Lucas why transgender people are protected from hate crimes based on gender identity instead of gender reassignment. She wrote, the terms of race, religion, sexual orientation, disability, or transgender identity are used to refer to the characteristics which offenses can be aggravated by. In this terminology is consistent with the national definition of hate crime agreed between the National Police Chiefs of Council and the Crown Prosecution Services, and relevant legislation including Section 145 and 146 of the Criminal Justice Act in 2003. Other questions from Lucas sought assurances for medical patients who want to be treated and cared for by staff of a particular sex. Though, in the middle of a pandemic and an NHS staffing shortage, we're not sure that many people would object to a transgender nurse hooking them up to a ventilator. The peer has poetically demonstrated the Eton standard of sex and relationship education before, when he suggested women regularly wash their bloody underwear in public bathrooms. As a hereditary peer, there is no way for the public to vote to remove Lord Lucas, who claims a seat in the Lords of Birthright and was picked by other Tory hereditary peers to remain there after minor reforms in 1999. Really? Really, Lord Lucas? Oh, in a world devastated by an epidemic of vast proportions, pan-epidemic, we have nothing better to do than to force the English government officials to stop doing their very important work to manage the pandemic crisis in order to answer your stupid transphobic questions. This is clearly a sign of how out of touch you really are with the reality of the everyday man. Asking these 10 questions is clearly designed to attempt to cause them to redefine current definitions more to your liking. But sorry, Lord Lucas, it seems that Baroness Burridge is unwilling to redefine governmental definitions to fit more to your liking. Bravo, Baroness Burridge. She also addresses his obvious attempt to use a private document issued to trans people to prove the English government recognizes their gender identification in order to receive treatment. This is appalling. The Baroness stated that this is a private document. Dang straight it is. She also indicated that most individuals do not have to provide a birth certificate to prove their sex, so why would a transgender have to prove the recognition of the English government concerning their gender status? Really, Lord Lucas, is it not truly your goal to deny life-saving medicine because it's not according to your liking? Meanwhile, you also sent a letter to Baroness Williams to talk of Tafford about why English transgender citizens should be protected from hate crimes on gender identity rather than gender reassignment. For those of you who don't know, there is a big difference between being transgendered and gender reassigned. If you are gender reassigned, that means that you have undergone all the replacement hormone therapy and every single surgery. You've gone through all the documented processes legally in order to be reassigned, which is why that word is there, to another sex. While transgenderism is more about being inside a body that you do not feel is correct for you when it comes to your sexual identity. Being gender reassigned in order to receive hate crime protections is a disgusting and immoral policy. You do not live in a binary world, no matter how much you would like that to be so, Lord Lucas. This essentially leaves a trans person without any protection. Hurrah for Baroness Williams for clearly and definitely making it clear that this is transphobic propaganda and putting it where it belongs. The other questions would be laughable if it were not for the fact that they highlight how insanely transphobic Lord Lucas actually is. But it's not just transphobia, folks. Clearly, the Lord has little to no respect for women as well. Either as the statements of this buffoon about gender-neutral restaurants point out. In this article, I found the following link. There, Lucas claimed women would not actually want to be in the dirty restrooms that men use, and that women need space to be free from overt negative male sexual behavior? How about the males keep the restrooms cleaner and they don't turn around and engage in these negative behaviors in the first place? Perhaps if other people saw them engaging in these negative behaviors, they'd put a stop to it. This just really makes me mad. And finally, women need a place to wash their bloody underwear where men can't see them? Really? Oh, really? I believe his final answer, though, is perhaps his most honest. It does not suit me to have gender-neutral toilets. To pretend that the reason you object to gender-neutral bathrooms is because of bloody panties is insulting to women and to trans men everywhere. But this is not all, for I've saved the best for last. Lord Lucas, if you want the assurance that you have a right to choose the sex of your medical personnel working on you, and to be assured that no transgender medical personnel ever have a part of your medical care, let's think about this. Let's say that during this pandemic, when all medical personnel are stretched too thin, imagine yourself so ill that you're in desperate need of a ventilator. And now imagine that the only available personnel that are not busy is a transgender woman. Are you really going to refuse to allow her to give you life-saving medical treatment just because her gender identity is not to your liking? If your answer is yes, then I say the following. I say your answer is not to my liking. I say let's let this buffoon die without treatment, seeing as England has no choice but to allow you to be a part of the House of Lords because some idiot 12 generations ago gave your family a title. I say England, and perhaps the rest of the world, is better off without the Lord Lucas. Finally, on a lighter note, elsewhere in the English news, we have another news item on Pink News. And give me just a second. I will pick up that article. Sorry, guys. So give me just a second. I happened to go too far back. Okay. I had problems with technical difficulties, but I'm back. So, there is a mom, and she's raging because kids in the C virus isolation are displaying rainbows in their windows. Yes, really. The sight of children creating rainbows amid the C virus lockdown has sparked fury. One Momsnet user who claims the rainbow flag is being used as a weapon. Children's drawings and paintings of rainbows have been springing up in windows all across the UK after a heartwarming trend was started online. Hundreds of schools encouraged their pupils to join in and spread hope to those unable to leave home during the pandemic, and the trend was spread further on social media with the hashtags #FromMyWindow and #ChaseTheRainbow. This didn't go down well with one commenter on the parenting forum who urged fellow parents not to allow their children to take part because of the rainbow's trans-inclusive message. In a post entitled, "Please Don't Put a Rainbow in Your Window," Momsnetter Ruffle Crowe wrote, "For the past few years, the rainbow has sadly become a symbol of silencing sexual stereotyping and oppression for a lot of women and those in the LGB, they don't have that one, community. If you're thinking of putting one up, please think about how that may make women feel, many of whom have already experienced death threats and lost their friends and jobs, thanks to those who would wield rainbow flag as a weapon. I just saw two on my walk just now, and it made me feel like, geek. Not the intended effect, I'm sure. Please consider something else. The sun coming out of the clouds, or a simple landscape. Thanks." As at the bottom of their post, the user included a poll asking readers the question, "Am I being unreasonable?" They probably expected most mums netters to agree with them, given that their users had previously spoken at length of their hatred of the LGBT plus rainbow, describing it as a Nazi flag, anti-female, and the symbol of homophobia and misogyny. They will have been disappointed to see that, as of Tuesday morning, 92% firmly declared that yes, they were definitely being unreasonable. Only 8% of the voters agreed with Ruffle Crowe's anger at the rainbow drawings. The poll hasn't closed yet, but with 1,635 Mumsnetters voting so far, the final verdict looks clear. But in case there was any doubt, streams of Mumsnetters told the poster exactly what they thought over 39 pages of comments. Elijah and Rowan have done their rainbows ready for the window, said one. If this is all you have to feel blank about, consider yourself bloody lucky. Get over yourself, one replied. People are frickin' dying. If my kids want to put a bloody rainbow in the window to cheer a dog walker up or someone out fetching groceries, then they will, another user wrote. You don't own the rainbow, lady. And what do you do when there is an actual rainbow in the sky, another asked. There is an irony in the frequent Mumsnet complaints that trans activists want everything to center on trans people when there are so many posts finding ways to make almost anything about posters' reactions to the trans activist, one commenter noted pointedly. Mumsnet founder and CEO Justin Roberts told Pink News, "There's a huge diversity of opinion on Mumsnet, which this discussion thread illustrates pretty well. We've always believed that debate between people who disagree is healthy and useful in allowing people to see alternative points of view." So, with all that being said, I just have a couple of things that I would like to say. Really, my dear Mumsnet user, absolutely, you are being unreasonable. With that being said, I followed the link across the UK to the BBC News article dated March the 21st, 2020. And I'm going to read that article, and it will be the last article I actually read. Just give me a couple of more seconds. I'm going to pause this. The C virus rainbow pictures springing up across the country. Pictures of rainbows have started springing up in windows after schools closed in response to the coronavirus outbreak. Hundreds of schools are encouraging pupils to put up paintings to spread hope after a trend stated online. Though many of the buildings have closed, one head teacher said the school spirit was still very much alive with online lessons. Schools across the UK shut on Friday to children of non-key workers. A spokesman in Grand First School in Newcastle said, We're hoping to spread our Cheerful Windows campaign as far and wide as possible. Signs are going up in windows all over the area and beyond, and will really help maintain morale for children and families in these difficult times. Angela Ruthven, whose son Harrison made a rainbow, said it was a truly wonderful idea. While we are all facing such worries with our health, our jobs, and children's education, this has offered a positive approach, she said. It's bringing families together at home to create a rainbow, making people smile if they are spotted in the windows. It's bringing our wonderful schools and even the world together. It's showing that we are all in this together. 6-year-old Eva has always loved painting rainbows, according to her mother. So they leapt at the chance at joining her school's campaign. Shona Richardson, head teacher of Eva's school in Roswell, Midlothian, said, "We did not want it to all be doom and gloom for children. We thought this would be a really visual way of bringing hope at a time when there is not much hope. It also sends a message to the elderly people to say, we're thinking about you, and hopefully it will give them some joy. These children won't be able to see their friends so much, so it's a way that they can communicate together." She said teachers were working from home and were in contact online with families. "We don't want families to be forgotten about just because they can't come into school," Mrs. Richardson said. We were really devastated when we all said goodbye to one another. It's the unknown, breaking up the holidays, when you'll be back together. But in this case, we really don't know. 8-year-old Chayan, who lives in Bridgewater, Somerset, also wanted to take part in the Chase the Rainbow trend. Tayan, who has been blind since she was 22 months old, is currently undergoing chemotherapy, made a raised rainbow that she could feel. Her mother, Collie, said, "We use paper, which is put through a machine so that the surface is raised so she can feel it. She colored it with paint sticks, and her brothers helped her choose the colors, although she says to everyone it's entirely pink. She knows it's up in the window and that it's her picture. Other people can enjoy it, and she asked me to take a picture of it to send to family members that we can't visit at the moment." Ilza, 7, and Archie, 4, stuck an enormous rainbow across the window of a Bristol home. Elza said, "We're making it because it might cheer people up." Her mother, Debbie Frost, said, "We're stuck in isolation. It got the kids thinking about arts and crafts and also about others and the impact we can have on them, even though we may never see them or come in contact with them." Joe Tamby of Hall Green, Birmingham, said her 4 children were prompted to create the rainbows as an antidote to negativity. "My daughter came up with the words, 'Be confident and be brave.' Those are words from an 8-year-old, and I think it just makes you smile when you see it, and quite emotional." So, that being said, we're now coming to the most fluffy part of this video. Today, me and my husband suggest everyone start a campaign here in the U.S. Hashtag from my Windows US. Hashtag Chase the Rainbows US. Hashtag Spread the Hope US. Hashtag Stay Safe US. And hashtag thank you to all of our essential workers. Join us and paint rainbows on your windows, doors, and fences. Try to imagine what it would be like if all of America was flooded with the symbol of hope during these hard times. And why should children get in on all the fun? Why can't we adults do it too? Later today, me and my husband will be painting ours and hanging them on our windows. Please do the same and come to our Facebook page and post your pictures and videos at Chase the Rainbows US. See you there. All the links will be down below to this. So in ending, again, I'd like to remind you that my personal editorial comments are my own. The point of this series is to get us talking about local, U.S., and international transgender news. Whether you agree or disagree with me or not, let's begin a discussion in the comments section below. If you have an article or a video link you would like me to review, please leave them below as well. This has been Xtra. Xtra, read all about it. And again, this is March the 25th, 2020. And if you've liked this video and you wish to hear more, please like the video and subscribe and ring that bell to be able to be notified about all of my videos on this series and so much more when I upload them. And this is Charlie Ray signing off and saying, this is Charlie Ray. Keep your head held high and don't be afraid to be who you really are. Goodbye. Goodbye.